Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the final word. Everton 0, Fulham 2. Words that have never, ever been spoken before about Fulham playing at Goodison Park in a league game.
Sad times.
That tells you the enormity of this defeat and just how bad it was. That Fulham have never, ever come to Goodison before and beaten us in a league game. It's that bad. And it was that bad. It was horrendous. It is definitely the worst game I think I've ever witnessed under Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah, easily.
It was just so bad. And yeah, there are many factors, and we will discuss them in the show. It was awful, wasn't it?
It was. They fully deserved the win. You can't even say any difference. There wasn't even a time where you went, no, yeah, but if they deserved the win from the first seconds. And it was like, you know, we've said a few times, haven't we? That thing, if you know after a few minutes what's going to follow. I said to Zach after 5 minutes last night, we'll get beat. And he's like, it's not being negative. I'm like, no, I can just feel it all. There was nothing in it. Very much like Spurs the other night. That opening 5 minutes where they come out and we're all over us. And the other night we reacted by getting an equaliser and then everything picked up. But last night we had nothing. There was just nothing come back for him. When we should have been on the front foot, we should have been putting the marker down to them. But no, it was poor. It was poor.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think I'm sick and like this home record now is just horrendous. It's it's 4 wins at home all season in the Premier League.
14 points. Well, we look at it.
It's just horrendous, and
we scored 5 goals since the derby at home in the league.
We haven't won a Premier League game since
December
Arsenal.
the 20, whatever it was.
And it's the manner of how we set up for these last 2 league games. I don't understand. I don't know whether it's because we've had a lot of games in both, around both of them, and the manager thinks, well, this is a chance to do this or a chance to do that. I think the manager got it completely wrong, and he got it completely wrong against Newcastle as well. But I think this is the one where he got it absolutely everything wrong for me.
Yeah.
He did. We said this after the Newcastle game. He didn't pay respect to Fulham, as far as I'm concerned. He set up a team that defensively was untried. 2 centre-backs never played together before. Seamus Coleman playing, which means you're going to get, he's going to be more offensive than defensive. Dean on the other side. Then you've got a midfield that is just 3 players, Andre Gomez, Gylfi Sigurdsson and James Rodriguez, that amble round the pitch. Forget about the quality of them, the amble. So you're losing something in directness and speed there. We already didn't have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We've got Richarlison playing up front, who doesn't offer anywhere near what Dominic Calvert-Lewin offers in terms of when you need an out ball, he's there to just hold the ball up and give you a platform to play from. And then you're relying on everything on being Tom Davies defensively and Decore. Decore looked really tired, to be fair, and he took Tom Davies off. So I just think he got everything wrong, and I can't understand why you would do that. It's a game where 3 points is imperative because you look at who you're playing next, but you think this is a chance to hit that 40 mark. Get on the same points as Liverpool. Give yourself that platform. Get away from the people coming behind you and stay in the mix of the people above you before you're playing tough games. Man City, Liverpool, Southampton, Chelsea coming up. It's, to me, I just think there was a lack of respect shown to Fulham by that team. Now he might say that team should have gone out and beaten them. But if you set up a team that is one paced, and you play against a bunch of lads who, to be fair to Fulham, they are full of energy. What they lack is a goal scorer. Ironically, they might have just found one now. And maybe a little bit of discipline themselves at times, or they're a bit naive. And we just looked awful because of it. Awful.
Yeah, we started off with the false 9, which was just nonsense at home. There was no need for it. And the irony is, if Josh King had decided for Fulham, he'd have started last night, he'd have been playing. But yet we've decided he's not fit enough to start for us, which was a strange decision. But if Richarlison's the backup striker, playing through the middle, I know he tried it in the second half and it didn't really work, but he should have done that from the very off. It reminded me of Newcastle away, where the team was just set up in a weird way. And it's the last few home games, it's been almost like a social experiment of like, we do really well away and we come at home and it's like, right, how can I pick a team that is not really set up to beat this opposition? Because changing the back four, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin would have been fit last night, he'd have played, wouldn't he? But Richarlison plays every game, so why do we feel the need to change the back four every game? You know, we've had our best results when the four centre-backs all played together, and they played every game. There was no one talking then about we've got to change the back four. No. We were playing with those four centre-backs. We were solid, and we were winning games.
It's no coincidence that we've started conceding goals again when we started dicking about with the back four. Yeah. You know, it's absolutely no coincidence.
The two full-backs were the two full-backs against Newcastle, and we got beat 2-0. Because they both want to go forward. And that's not I'm not criticising the individuals. I'm not criticising Coleman. I'm saying that we've changed the team, so we're not as solid.
But this goes back to what we said when we played Newcastle away. I think we cannot, or we've said it loads of times, we cannot get away with playing two full-backs like that and James Rodriguez in the team. And that's before you add skillful figures into it. Without a solid midfield three. Right, so you know we at the time we were advocating for, say, Decore, Allen, and maybe a Delph, or maybe it'd be a Tom Davis now. So you've got a shot,
or Godfrey, or Holgate.
So you've got a solid three in midfield. And that's where for me we got it completely wrong last night. If you're going to start with two fullbacks that are attacking fullbacks, then you've got to get that middle of the park solid, and we didn't. We didn't. We were open. We were open everywhere. And this is where I think Carlo Ancelotti just seems to almost allow the players to, you know, he's saying to the player, almost saying, you're good enough, you should be able to do it, without taking that authority, having that authority. And it's like a half time. I think we should have had two changes, and it should have been, you get off, you've been awful. But it's that. And the same thing happened at Newcastle. It's that thing of like sleepwalking towards a defeat that we knew was coming, when you can make changes. And I think, you know, I don't pick faults with Carlo Ancelotti, many faults, but I do believe that that's like one little thing that we're not tough enough. Like, why are we waiting to make subs that when you know the opposition are going to score? You could see it. Everyone can see it in the world that they were going to come out. It's great to go, lads, you need to be doing better, blah, blah, blah. And I know, listen, 7 days earlier, 8 days earlier at Old Trafford, it works. I suppose you don't change it and we go out and do it. But last night, it was a little bit different. You could there was no energy on the pitch. There was no energy on that pitch to change it. And the sub should have been made at half-time. Josh King should have come on at half-time at 0-0 and said, you get up front and you start stretching this. Let Richarlison play behind you, and he picks up and runs at them. And that's where it should have been changed at half-time. And we got it completely wrong. He got it completely wrong. I think he's too nice at times, Carlo Ancelotti. You know, I think he's absolutely... I love the bones of him. I love the bones of him as a manager and as a human being. But I do think there are times, and luckily it's only minor times, but it does seem like it has a pattern of when we play these teams who we're supposed to beat at home. And when you have the flip side, it's not like you go, oh, look at how many chances we had, or oh, we were so unlucky. We did nothing. We had one in the first half that hit the post that was always going wide. And, you know, Josh King has a goal disallowed in the second half. And we have a few little... The keeper doesn't have to make any saves. It's all too easy, too nice. And it's just... This is what's going to stop us getting anywhere near the Champions League. And it could potentially stop us getting anywhere near Europa League. Because if we had a home record that was anywhere near our away record, we'd be pissing it.
Well, we should have,
so frustrating.
We should have 10 more points, which would have us on 47 points. We'd be second with games in hand. Really, the home games we've blown. we've thrown away. I can't include last night. That was just beforehand. It was a game we should have won. I can't say with any conviction once the game started we should have won it, because we shouldn't have done. Fulham were by far the better side and deserved it. But you could see it coming. And the first half, they pressed brilliantly. We know we struggle. I mean, he almost scored within the first couple of minutes. You know, I think it was Godfrey got a good ball, Decore got a good block in, the lad should have scored. And that should have been the wake-up call.
Corner that at the post.
Corner at the flicked on at the post.
Keeper punched, went straight to their player.
You know, and you're like, wake up. You know, you've got to match what they're doing. And it's, I don't know whether Carlo Ancelotti just hasn't got the players. You know, at other clubs, he's been able to make changes and quality still coming. And I know from reading this stuff and from reading criticism, the one thing that people criticise about him is sometimes he's too loyal to players. And that was what I'd read when he come here. And maybe he shows a little bit of that at times, but he will turn around and say those players were good enough to win that game. The problem was, it's on. We'll carry on, but it's regardless of what anyone does. Yeah. It's on the players. Yeah. The manager can only be as good as he can be. It's on those players, and unfortunately, I've defended them lately when people have gone the bottlers, though they won't do this. They've lost 3 home games out of 4 against teams they should have beat. End of story.
No, you're right. Do you think with Carlo Ancelotti, one of the little issues is, and I think this might stem from being a manager of a big club, or managing big clubs, is when we play away and when we play top sides, there's a plan, right? There's a plan. There's a formation to counter what they're doing. There's a discipline in the team. There's a hunger in the team. There's a definite. It looks like they work on stuff, and yet when we play like the likes of Fulham or when we played West Ham or when we played Newcastle, it doesn't seem like there's a plan. It seems like it's go out and just be better than these, like you would do when you were if you were at a top side. If you were like Real Madrid and you were playing some mid-table game, you wouldn't think they'd work all week on like what they're going to do. You'd just be like, you're better than these. Go out and beat them. You're at home, blah, blah, blah. Go and beat them. That, you know, you should be good. I feel like there's almost that I keep on using the word of lack of respect, because I do feel like he's shown at times that these games, it's just like, go out, like the 4 defeats at home, you know, Leeds, West Ham, Newcastle, and this one, every game just feels the same. It's like, go out and just beat them. And yet when we play away, and even if we play the same teams away, it's like, no, it's away, so we have to have a plan here. And I just don't think when we play at home against these lesser sides, we have a plan. It's just, you're good enough, go out and beat them. And I think that it's, whether that's right or not, that lack of identity at home is massively catching us out.
I think it's the changing of the team, though. I think it's making he made changes against Newcastle unnecessarily. Took Godfrey and Holgate out when they'd been sound, and we were doing really well. And I think the same as yesterday. Made 4 changes from the Spurs game. Now, okay, Dominic Calvert-Lewin we knew was out, so that's no issue with that. But Richarlison should have been through the middle. Shouldn't have been a false 9 at home against Fulham. So, you know, should have been Richarlison through the middle. Maybe, you know, it should James on the right. And then maybe it should have had to take the chance and left Gylfi on the bench and gone, no, we're playing Bernard on the left or Wobie on the left to give us, to give them something to worry about instead of trying to fit those players into the team. And we've done this before. But even if he thought, see, I can accept that. I can accept before the game him going, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play the false 9, but Richarlison, we're going to get him in. We're going to control the ball, blah, blah, blah. You get to half time and you go, 0-0,
like Newcastle
and we've been battered here. Yeah. We really should be 2 down. And you know, Lookman had the chance that I thought he'd scored, and it just went into the floor. Right, we've got away with that, boys. They should be ahead. I'm going to make a couple of changes now, or I'm going to at least make 1 change, and that is take your pick. Gomez, Gylfi, or James. Take one of them 3 off. Get Josh King on, either on the left or through the middle, Richarlison, and we're going to go with this half and give them something to worry about. Maybe even turn. He could have even gone 4-4-2 at half time and gone, let's give them something totally different to think about. That Tosin at the back, Adebayo, just had to play with his flip-flops on. He won't have had an easier night in the Premier League than what he had last night. We had Gylfi in the first half and he had Richarlison in the second half. Neither of them gave him anything to worry about. We didn't. Everything was slow. We must pass back more than any other team in the world. We have it. We work it right the way up and we end up back at the goalkeeper. And you're like, we were on the edge of their box. The amount of times we turn and knock it back, all of us. No one wants to take a chance.
And yet we had two number 10s in the team.
It's incredible. You know, James was trying to get on the ball and they did rough him up a little bit. But he's got to show more.
But that's what happens when you have a team that has got no wide players in it. That's what happens, isn't it?
There was no outballs.
Iwobi last night, at least, you know, whether you like Iwobi and don't like Iwobi, when he plays well, if you give him the ball, he'll get you up the pitch. You'll start stretching, you'll hold on to it and allow other people. Do you know, another thing that I couldn't understand last night was the amount of time. I know you're saying going backwards, but there was no point in the game when someone just went, right, let's hold on for the ball for a bit. Let's just keep the ball and work it round the pitch and just pass it and keep it and just throw a blanket on
Centre backs did.
Yeah, they did.
Ben Godfrey had more touches than anyone. He ended up with it. I think he had 98% pass completion or something. He had all the ball. No one else. It was just back. No one further up the pitch.
But we never threw a blanket over the game. Just went, right, we're just going to keep holding the ball for a bit. It was that thing again of always trying to play the killer ball or the ball that was a 50-50 ball, so they always had a chance. And they won every 50-50. So it meant that they kept on turning us. And you like the press. We again, another team that comes to Goodison and presses us, and we just can't cope because we haven't got mobile enough players.
Said it after the game. Can't cope when people press. Well, it's not good, is it? It's not good when you're playing the next two teams at presses. That's not. You can't have that. You can't go. We're not as good when someone press, because teams are just going to go. You know what we'll do? We'll just come and press you.
The next three teams are pressers. We've got Southampton. They're a presser. So, no matter how good they've been playing. If it stops you playing the way, then you've just told everyone what everyone already knows.
So you've got to find a new way now. We've got to look at it. I mean, I just looked at it and thought, well, at least we know where the money needs to be spent in the summer.
Everywhere.
Mobile footballers and attacking players. People who actually know how to beat teams, not who'll just pass it sideways and everything's slow. It's got to be quick. The Premier League's about power and pace. It's not about slow football. You know, you're right, away from home, we're fantastic. We've got a good way of playing and we have a threat in the final third. Well, when Dom was there, we have a threat in the final third, which is great. But you're right, we can't translate that to home. You should be able to translate that to your home. We should be able to come out against these teams and just put them as to bed. No matter what Fulham did, we've got more quality no matter what.
We're definitely not, and this is showed in all the games, we're not brave at home either. We allow opposition teams to come and just dictate the pace. And then what ends up happening is, you've seen the last two games, Spurs were up after a couple of minutes, and Fulham should have been up after a couple of minutes. We sit back and do that thing of just passing why not in the first 5-10 minutes of a game just say to your centre-backs, right, let's just stretch these, let's have a little look, stretch them, just Charlison get into the channels, or Dom does it brilliantly, we know, get into the channels and stretch these, and let's get higher up the pitch for a start. Let's get our starting position higher up the pitch. Instead, you've got Godfrey and Holgate at centre-back last night on the edge of our box.
We're higher up with Keane and Mina.
Yeah, get up play a couple long, turn them, and then get up the pitch and basically sit on your halfway line. You've got the pace to deal with it.
Get shots away.
And then we'll move up as a team.
You've got to make these teams feel like they're under pressure. You've got to, and we don't. We allow teams to come and just stroke the ball around like everything's fine, and there's no other gear at home. That's where they're really struggling. Seems to have it good away. You know, you've got away games coming, and you're like, yeah, we'll be all right, because I know, like City and Liverpool, Everton will be up for both games, and that's not right, because they should have been up for last night. Now, they might not win either of those games, but at least you'll know they'll put up a foot, or they'll certainly work
There'll be a plan.
the socks off. There'll be a game plan, they'll work the socks off. And you'd look and go, it wouldn't surprise me if Everton turned City over, even though they've won about 15 games on the run, because they'll be up for it, and who knows, then you get a lucky break or whatever. But we should be beating these teams like Fulham, so that the City game is a case of, well, if it ends in a point, it's the next one, we move on. It's just frustrating because we've seen it before, and if it was one game, If in general we've been all right at home, and this was one of them games, you just go, we didn't turn up, they deserved it, put it to bed, let's move on. But it's 3 out the last 4 now. Leicester aren't all that, and we were crap against Leicester.
We sat back in that game as well.
That's it, and I just don't think we can't sit back against anyone because we just invite it on. I think if it was me, I would just keep more or less the same team every week for as long as we can.
I think obviously, listen, when we come out of this week now, then it will be Saturday, weekend to weekend, most of the time. I know we've got the FA Cup coming, and that'll give us a weekday game, and then the Villa game will have to be squeezed in somewhere as well. And I think we play Sheffield United on a Tuesday night in April or whatever it is. But for most of the time, it's going to be week to week, and I hope that means that he does start finding a consistent back four, which would really give us a platform to play off, because it just is noticeable that you start changing players around, we're going to start conceding more goals, and we have started conceding goals.
It's not just the personnel though, that's the...
Different assets.
You've got Yerry Mina there. It was like we got a few corners, well, we didn't even look a threat off any corner. And yet normally we've scored a lot of goals.
And defending corners, we look all over the gap suddenly again.
So, you know, for me, it'd have... you'd have to have a solid right back, you know, and I know that might mean Seamus comes out the team or whatever, but I think we need, or Luca Dean now has to go and play midfield if you want to culminate. You've got to have 3 defenders. We're not. The midfield hopefully will be helped with Alan coming back in, but then you've got a decision then. So who else is playing in there? You know, it's Gylfi Sigurdsson, fantastic against Spurs. Was back to the ghost last night. Of not even do anything. Andre Gomez. Has a good couple of games, and then last night
you have to start making your mind up of what your makeup of your team is, you know, and then you have to make up your mind up, how are you playing? Are you playing 4-3-3? If you're playing 4-3-3, then your wide men have got to be proper wide, you've got to be attacking players. So that means Richarlison on one side and, you know, James Rodriguez or Iwobi on the other side, depending on, you know, what the circumstances are.
King.
Yeah, you know, if you're going to play, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin's not playing, it's got to be someone on last night's form that has got to be like a Josh King kind of play, someone who stretches them. Someone who stretches them.
It can't allow teams to get comfortable at home, otherwise we will continue to lose these games. Well, I looked at our home fixtures to come. Really, Everton should win. Take City out of it. Everton should win. There's another 7, I think. 6 of them.
Well, once we played City...
And we've got Spurs, haven't we?
I think we've only got... Yeah, we've got...
But they're the hardest team we've got, Spurs. Everyone else we've got like Villa, but Wolves, but they're all beatable. Yeah. So what I mean is like Sheffield United, Burnley, you're looking at them and going, that should be a win, that should be... It doesn't matter, because Fulham should have been a win. When you're looking at it on paper, it doesn't work like that. But what I mean is, other teams with that home run, you'd be going, well, they're going to be close. The flip side,
the funny thing is, the home fixtures that come are very winnable, but the away fixtures, you're starting to get tougher now. So you're getting the flip. So they're going to have to find something. They're going to have to find a way of playing at home.
Or it'll be the season will just peter out when they've been in a really good position.
When we've been in a fantastic position to kick on. You know, everyone's so much, win our games in hand, or there was like, you know, if you take what the points have dropped, we're in the top 4 and all that. It doesn't mean anything. That's why I've always said when people go, we've got these games in hand, it doesn't mean it. If you're having games in hand, it doesn't mean anything. You've got to go and win them. But it's just concerning that it sounds stupid. When you're watching and you can see exactly what's going to happen, and you think, you just make the change at half time, bring Josh King on, put Richarlison back on the left, or get him closer to him, so that...
But he wasn't up front though.
No, I know.
Problem. He should have been up front. No, he was playing on the left, but he wasn't in the game, and it was like, make the change halfway through the first half, go to... Well, he tried, didn't he? Actually, he did do that. After about half an hour, he swapped Sigurdsson to the left and put Richarlison through the middle, but we didn't have any... There was no one... You're right, there was no one creating anything for him, and he's not playing well enough at the moment that he'll be able to do it for himself, really. And
the irony is, when we went to, like, say, Wolves away, and we had no striker that night, there was a plan.
Yeah, the Iwobi in the team.
No, there was a plan. Iwobi on the right, Dean on the left, those charging forward, James Rodriguez pulling off, creating, and then Sigurdsson was playing in that space and dragging the centre. So it's that thing of there was a plan, and these home games just look like he puts 11 names on a board and goes, "Go on, lads." It's without there actually being any kind of firm plan of what they're doing.
I think that we're at the stage where we just haven't got the right balance in the squad.
We've used that word all season, Baz, balance.
We just haven't got it. We can't. Everton, the Premier League, I said it before, it's power and pace. It's what it's all about. And we haven't, once we take a couple of players out of the mix, everything goes askew. That make-up in that midfield, you should never have Andre Gomez, Gylfi Sigurdsson and Tom Davies in the same midfield. End of story. It's true, there's not enough pace.
It's not pace.
Tom Davies isn't... forget Tom. Put him back.
No, you know what I mean.
Gylfi Sigurdsson, Andre Gomez, James Rodriguez should never be in the same side because there's nothing there. They were dynamic. They weren't great players. Harrison Reed's not a great player, but he's all over you. Doesn't give you the second. They're quick. You know, they didn't even have Anguissa playing, who's their best midfielder. You know, come on for the last 10 minutes. And yet, we're so slow and pedestrian. So what you do, I mean, I had the Zone on and they were talking and saying, it's all, you know, Everton are great away from home. He said you back them against any team in the Premier League. Even City, you'd back them to go there and do well because they know what they're doing. And when they've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he said, but at home, they move the ball so slowly that the opposition, if the opposition come and say, well, like, we're going to sit in, what have you got? So there's no way Everton will break these down. So after 20 minutes, there's no way Everton will break these down the way they're playing because they're moving the ball so slowly. So they've got to get it quick. And, you know, the best chance we had, James Rodriguez wins a slide tackle and Coleman just burst into the space and no one got near him. And we had one other good bit of play in the first half, which was James again. Manipulated the ball, played a little round the corner to Andre Gomez, and the pitch was open.
This is it, though.
And he only has to hit the target.
Someone like James Rodriguez or even Gylfi Sigurdsson, you surround them with pace and runners. You've seen that the other night.
They'll find it.
Seen that the other night. Gylfi Sigurdsson, couple gets Bernard, great movement. Those players surrounded by pace can do a job, but you're absolutely right. You put them together, and it's statues. And the thing is, Gylfi Sigurdsson and James Rodriguez essentially want to do the same job anyway. So it's difficult straight off the bat. But if you've got no runners, this is where like, you know, this is where Dominic Calvert-Lewin is so important. And actually, Richarlison, we know he hasn't done as much this season, hasn't had a great season, but running with the ball, taking people on, committing people, being that extra threat. And that's where I couldn't understand why half time we didn't just say get King on, get Josh King on, and start just stretching them. And because like the goal he scored, that was offside. That shouldn't have been offside. He shouldn't have been offside. He should have, if he'd held his line, maybe with a bit more sharpness, he'd just hold his line because he gets that anyway. And that is that little extra thing of just whipping a ball in and having someone in there who like basically what Dom's been doing. Richarlison's not that kind of player, but you need 2 or 3 of them. And over half time, he said, right, I'm bringing Iwobi on the right and I'm bringing King on, and I'm going to move Richarlison back to the left, and that's going to be our front three. I would have gone, we'll beat these now. Yeah. It's 0-0.
We'll give them something to think about.
It's 0-0. We've just took Andre Gomez off, who's not needed. We've just took Gylfi Sigurdsson off. James Rodriguez is going to sit in front of Decore and Davis. Davis was having a good game up to then. He wasn't brilliant, but he was taking the ball and giving it, and then it was breaking down and it was coming back onto him. So he was doing his job. Decore, I'm sure, would have been all right. But just those 2 changes, I think, would have just stopped them in their track. And don't forget, this is a team that are low on confidence, even though they didn't look like they were. But they're desperate for wins. If we'd taken the game there and gone, oh no, we've got a threat now, I think if that Josh King's goal had been a goal, I think they could have ended 2-2. Just because the fragility of the situation, we've been there ourselves. But we never ever put that pressure on them. And that could have come at half time. And that's about being ruthless. That's about going, this is not good enough. And I don't think we see that enough from Everton. I don't think we see that ruthless side enough where people, fully understand, or the manager looks at the situation and goes, words are not enough. You're not doing it and you're not doing it.
He took people off before, though, and he took Iwobi off at Southampton at half-time and things like that. He has done it. I just didn't understand why he allowed it to carry on last night, and then obviously come out for the second half and you think there'll be a response now because they'll have all been had a go because that was pathetic, really. Absolutely nothing gone on in the first half, and within 2 or 3 minutes we're behind, you know. And in my Matt's reaction, I thought Coleman should have done better, but I've watched it back again. It's Decore. It's absolutely Decore. Nothing. Seamus couldn't do nothing about it. It's 2v1, and Decore doesn't go with him. But Mason Holgate's marking Mathew and just lets him run off him. Instead of running with the player so you can see him and you know that he's there, he runs into a space that Ben Godfrey's gone in. And when the ball bypasses the pair of them, the kid's got to tap it. And it's like, it's a basic goal. Yeah. Even with Decore not following Aina, which he should have done. If you mark the lad in the middle, you'll get there before him. You know, when he doesn't, Holgate just switches off and goes to space and the ball goes beyond him and his keeper can't do nothing, it's in the net. And you're like, great, here we go. You know, and the first goal was always going to be important. If we'd have got it, we'd have probably gone and won the game. And it's like, right, can we respond? And within 5 minutes, you know they're not going to. It's flat. It's not like, come on, pick it up. Now, that's the warning, they're behind. Let's get this 40 minutes plus. We can win this game still. Doesn't matter. We keep going. We don't. We just resorted to keeping the ball. It was slow, easy, osy football, flicks here and there, not going anywhere. Everything dead pedestrian, and they were just like, all right, we'll come at you again. Second goal just as bad. You know, keeper should do better for me. Pushes it onto the post. Yeah. Again, no Everton defender reacts. Godfrey or Holgate stands still. The lad runs between Holgate and Godfrey with the shot. Then two are facing that way, he goes that way. It's the post and he's got a tap and it's 2-0. And you're like, that's pathetic. It's like Sunday League defending from the Peria. Whereas it's Michael Keane and Godfrey, Holgate's fullback at this stage. Keane sees him run past him and doesn't go with him. And it's like, conceded again where we haven't been doing that. You know, we've been switched on and Mina's been following the man or nudging him, not letting him, blocking him off. And it's just like, go ahead, lad, where are you going? Get yourself another goal. And it's, it's 2-0 and still no reaction really. We had that one moment from Gomez, cross and King puts it in, but that was it. Sigurdsson has a shot into the floor, which the keeper makes a meal of to waste time, which is fine, and that was it. And it was, to have 7 shots against the team in the bottom 3 at home is embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and 2 or 3 of them came in the last 5 minutes. Absolutely embarrassing. It was an embarrassing performance, and if you get beat, you go, well, we can lose games. It's football, you're going to lose, but it's how you lose. The problem is, for me, is that this is like the 4th game on the run at home. It's just all been the same performance. Leicester we scored first. Hammer scored a great goal, which gave us something to play for. Yeah. Whereas the West Ham, Newcastle and this were just all much of a much. It's just the same. Slow.
I think we've picked up 4 points from losing positions at home.
Because there's no like rally. The overriding thing for me last night was they wouldn't have played like that with a crowd. No chance. Because we wouldn't have allowed them to continue to pass the ball back. We wouldn't have allowed them, when we went behind, to be insipid the way they were, to walk around the pitch. We'd have demanded being screaming and shouting
all season.
But every other team, don't get me wrong, we've won games with crowds would have influenced away from home. I'm not saying that, but what I mean is those players with the crowd would have reacted, and they have to find something in them at home because they've reacted away well. 2-0 down at United and reacted brilliantly. So, I just think maybe it is simply he's got to play the same 11 most weeks because otherwise it just doesn't work.
Well, like for like, at least. Oh, well, you know what I mean? Like for like.
We play the same. Them 3 in midfield, 3, Sigurds and Gomez and Hammer. You can't. They're not
you can't
dynamic.
Carry those players.
Can't carry 3 of them. Maybe 2 of them with another mobile midfielder or a mobile striker. But you're absolutely right. We've got to have people running. You've got to have. James Rodriguez is fantastic at finding space. He's fantastic at passing ability. But if he looks and changes and manipulates the ball and there's nobody making a run, what? You're asking him to somehow play an impossible ball.
And you could see that last night because he manipulates the ball and then he looks up and there's no one there. And then all that means is the play comes in and hits him. And then he gets on the deck and then he's like... And I've seen people having a go at him going, he cried off and all that. I mean, number one, I don't even think he thought he was getting subbed. So I don't think...
2 of them hit him for that.
So I don't think he injured himself to get off because I don't even think he knew he was going off. He went off to the side, and Carlos went, come on, let's get him off, sort of thing. But if you're looking for runners and there's no runners there, and then someone comes in and you've got nowhere to go with the ball, then it will frustrate you. You will be like, what am I doing? And that's where I don't understand why we played that system, because it's great having people who can open you up. It's great having a Sigurdsson, but if you haven't got players on the pitch, like who was he gonna give the ball to? Who were gonna be the players that we had? No wide men. Seamus Coleman can't make that run. Dean never runs into the box, does he? He runs wide, but he never runs into the box. So you haven't got a Dom who's your focal point. So we were going to be the players that they got the ball to. Decore didn't look 100%. So he was never going to burst past anyone.
But I don't think he could, because,
that's what I'm saying, because they were blocking.
Of the way we set up.
Because they were blocking.
We took out our armour, our one real weapon in midfield. We totally, because James was playing, and because Seamus liked to go on, and because Sigurdsson was in, or Gomez, Decore almost sacrificed his whole game to like cover the right hand side. And it's like, that's not what he's good at. He's better being able to burst through. It was just a mixture of a lot of poor decisions, and the players, unfortunately. But we know these players can't rise to the occasion, the ones who come in.
We need new players. Simple as that. We need three or four new players, and we know that. But it annoys me, because away from home we have a plan, we know what we're doing, and we execute it a lot of the time, or we get close to executing it. And at home, it just seems like a free-for-all. Seems like you.
Maybe we just haven't got the players to play.
No, I don't think we have got the players, but then that
away from home,
then I don't understand why. Then if we haven't got the players to play, then like you said before, keep a basic structure, keep centre backs. Decide what you're going to do. Playing Seamus Coleman is massively different than playing Mason Holgate right back. It's massively different. They've got two different skill sets, completely different.
What was mad last night was he took Coleman off when actually we probably needed Coleman to stay on, if that made sense.
Tom Davis.
We were getting beat 1-0, so we needed someone who was going to then go at them.
Yeah.
But he went more solid, but we were a goal down. It was mad. When really, if you'd have started with them, Keane centre-back and Holgate right-back, and then you went behind, you go, right, get Coleman on, because he can fly forward. I'm not saying, listen, Seamus Coleman was the same as everybody else. No one could really get going, but that was just a bit mad. But Tom Davis was the strange one, because why he left Sigurdsson and Gomez on, I'll never know, because neither of them were doing it. It's
almost like he felt like, well, if I bring Keane on, Keane can do the job Davis has been doing by bringing the ball out rather than giving it to a midfielder. But it didn't work, because I always think, if you want to win a game of football, if you're behind, you still need that element of protection. You can forfeit someone in the, like it should have been Gomez or Sigurdsson who went off.
Yeah,
they were abysmal.
It's the three. I mean,
you could have picked one of those three.
It should have been Iwobi, King.
Yeah.
It should have been two of the subs, and then maybe if you wanted to bring Keane on, then put Holgate right back. Then fair enough, but that's who it should have been, and yet. He put Bernard on, but Bernard just played deep and didn't stretch them either, whereas Iwobi, unless Iwobi was injured, I don't know, or carrying something, I'm not sure, but it was just very strange, and I don't think he had his greatest managerial games ever.
I think it was,
but the players done him no favours.
I think it was a mix of everything. Baz, I think it was horrendous. And listen, if a team that are in the bottom three, never won at Goodison Park, come and turn you over in such an easy way, then you know everyone's had a terrible night. Yeah. You know everyone's had a terrible night.
Isn't it?
Let's have a look at the stats. They don't make happy reading. 12 shots from them, 7 for us, 2 on target. For us, horrendous.
3 on target.
No big chances. They won the possession.
Not much in the passing either.
No.
So 9 passes.
But their passes were like that way, forward. Yeah. Our passes were along the back 4, 87 times.
It's like there's no urgency with us as well. It's like pass. But no one's like trying to move people. It's not like zipped in quick, move them around. It's all slow. And they're the things when you're playing in these games that we've got to get better at. We've got to be sharper. We've got to have players who can fly down the wing, because you've got to have an outball, haven't you?
Yeah. Just get him in it. Oh, just get in.
It's frustrating because we've made progress this season. We know we have. And we got ourselves into a great position. And we've had home games where a normal season Everton probably would have won those.
Well, let's just look at the home results. A minute. I mean, 14 points out of 33, 16 goals scored in 11 games. That's abysmal. 17 goals conceded.
Well, you know what's worrying is that 11 of those 16 were in the first 3 games.
Yeah.
You know, 5-2 West Brom, 4-2 Brighton, 2-2 Liverpool, and then look, 1, none, 1, 2, none, 1, none, none. You know, Latin scored in that. We scored 1 goal in our last 4 home games.
It's abysmal. The home form is just...
And conceded 17.
Never... I don't think it's ever been this bad. I mean, it was Roberto Martinez's last season. It was bad.
We lost 8 home games.
It was bad. And I couldn't... Listen, I know it's different this season because obviously you've got no fans there. Let's just look at the away form as well. Comparison. 23 from 33 points, thankfully. 18 goals scored in 11 games, 13 goals conceded. I mean, the goals conceded, that's a big thing, isn't it?
Well, my -1 at home, which is just ridiculous. But obviously +5 away from home. We've had some great away wins, you know, tough places.
I mean, we've only been beaten. Well, we've been beaten twice.
Twice, haven't we?
Twice, and
they were in a week of each other in
2
November.
draws, and that's the only points we've dropped away from home.
So we've been incredible, and that's what really annoys you, the fact that if Everton were in a normal season, you know, where it's like the way we normally have a decent home record, then we would be flying this season. And I know, listen, you can make, people could say now and go, yeah, but it's not normal and we wouldn't have won many away games, but it's just annoying because we are losing the same game, the same type of way. And that's really frustrating, you know, but what can you do? What can you do other than he's got to sort it out? And
well, we've got 2 big games this week now. So it'll be interesting to see what the response is, but I just really hope that this season just doesn't peter out because we've still got a big opportunity to get into Europe, a big opportunity.
Still got a big opportunity to get in the Champions League. I'm not saying it. Listen,
No.
It looks a mile away at the
because
moment.
I'd say why we've got a big opportunity still. It's because we play teams, still got teams to come who are around us, but you've got to beat them.
Yeah.
And you can't, if we play like that, we'll never beat them. So
well, we had a terrible result against Newcastle, and we had 3 really decent results after it, and we responded when we lost at home to West Ham.
Yeah.
We went to Wolves and won. So hopefully we'll beat City and
Interesting.
beat Liverpool. That'll be all right.
Yeah,
that'll pick us up.
That'll pick us up. There you go. Let us know your thoughts on this one. Whose fault was it? Was it anyone's fault? Was it everyone's fault? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to watch the final word live, the full final word, where we get your comments in at the end of the show, have a bit more of a chat, and join us over on Patreon. The link is in the description. It'll be on the screen as well. Thanks for watching. See you later.